Jaja Binks, Jaja Binks. Me say your humble servant, Jaja Binks, Jaja Binks. Oh, muy, I love you, Jaja Binks. Me say go Jaja Binks.
Hello everybody, some would say I'm the reverse, and welcome back to the channel. It has been a long time coming, but I am back. Not gonna make a ton of videos on the channel. I'm not back, full time, but since The Flash is coming back for a final season next year, I decided why not rewatch the show and do a re-ranking, a tier list of all of the episodes, season to season. We are here with all 23 episodes from season 1 on tiermaker.com. I've made my own tier list. Here we go. As you can see, we have S, A, B, C, D, and F tiers. So let's just get right into this. Of course, we start with episode 1. This is called Pilot. I really liked pilot episodes. Specifically, this one does a great job of setting up everything that this season has to offer. There's so much to set up here, so many characters, so many storylines. You gotta set up Star Labs, Wells, Cisco, Caitlin. You have to set up Barry's origin with his mom getting killed, his dad in prison, the Reverse Flash. You have Iris, Joe, Eddie. You have the CCPD. You have Clyde Martin on the side here. There's just so much to tackle. The particle accelerator, everything. And it just juggles all this so well, in my opinion. It just does a great job of introducing the series, the season, the characters, everything. It's not a fantastic episode, but I think it does its job so well, it deserves to go into the B tier. Next is Season 1, Episode 2, titled Fastest Man Alive. This one is a fun little Villain of the Week episode. We have Danton Black, a.k.a. Multiplex. He's a fun villain. I like his powers. He's interesting, and his fights with the Flash are fun. Simon Stagg was a decent character. I really like the end where he gets killed by Wells. Just a quick tease to Wells's villainy early on in the season. We got some good drama with Barry and Joe. Overall, a solid episode. That's all I have to say. I will put it in the D tier because it is just a Villain of the Week episode. All of these rankings are subject to change as we move on further into the series. Right now, there are no bad episodes in Season 1, so the F tier, the D tier, they don't really mean horrible things for the episodes. They're all decent. It's fine. Episode 3, Things You Can't Outrun. I really like The Mist as a villain. Personality-wise, he's nothing special, but I just really like his powers. I think he's interesting, and I think his fights with Barry are really good. We get some good stuff with Barry and Joe again. We also have some good stuff with Henry and Iron Heights. Just overall, very, very solid episode. I'm going to put it above episode 2 just because I think The Mist is a more interesting villain than Multiplex, but yeah, that's really it. Episode 4, titled Going Rogue. This is Captain Cold's introduction. Obviously, Leonard Snart as a villain is just so fantastic. One of the best villains of the show. He never was even the main villain of a season. He's only been in a handful of episodes here and there, but he made his mark. He made his impression. He's so good. I'm going to put this episode in the C tier. First off, Captain Cold, fantastic. Secondly, Felicity's in this episode. I'm not a huge fan of Felicity, so she kind of balances out the episode with Captain Cold. Other than that, nothing really to talk about. It's just, very solid episode. Season 1, Episode 5, titled Plastique. A really good episode. I really enjoyed this one. Plastique, what's her name? Bet Sans Souci, I think, or something like that. I don't really know how to pronounce it. She's a really good, not even villain, just a character. I really like her dynamic with Team Flash. I like her powers. I like General Eiling's role in this episode. We get a few teases of Grodd here and there with him and Wells' backstory. Overall, solid episode. I'm going to put it in the C tier behind Going Rogue just because, that one has Snart. This one does not. Episode 6, titled The Flash is Born. I really like Tony Woodward as a villain. I think he's just a really good tool that they use to explore Barry's childhood and stuff. So that's really cool. Other than that, though, there's some very CW-esque drama here. Early season 1, there's a lot of that, but this episode especially. And this episode started the trend of the Flash and Iris's rooftop meetings, which I never liked. I still think it's very cheesy to this day, just very cheesy writing in those scenes. And it started here, so I'm going to put this in the D tier, above Fastest Man Alive. Next is episode 7, titled Power Outage. This one's a lot of fun. Definitely one of the more underrated episodes of the season, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of good tension here with Farouk, the villain, Blackout. He's in Star Labs, he's hunting Harrison Wells, and he causes a power outage, and the whole city, there's a citywide blackout. And we have Clock King, who takes the CCPD hostage, and it's just, there's some good tension. So I'm going to put this one in the C tier, in between the other two. And yeah, I just think it's really underrated. The Flash versus Arrow. This is season 1, episode 8. I mean, everyone loves this episode. I think it's a little bit overrated, but I'm going to put it in the B tier anyways because I think it is really good nonetheless. I mean, come on. It's two superheroes, they're fighting, you gotta love it. It's Captain America Civil War, Batman v Superman, done in the Arrowverse. It's great. It's the first ever crossover. It's so fun. But I do think it is a little bit overrated. Then we have season 1, episode 9, The Man in the Yellow Suit. S tier. I mean, this is the mid-season finale. There's so many elements to this episode that work and are just perfect. The tension, the Flash, Reverse Flash rivalry, the end scene with Dr. Wells is the Reverse Flash. I mean, come on, we all knew it was the case, but it was done so well. Even the Barry and Iris relationship drama was good in this episode, with him revealing to his feelings for her. That was good. And when an episode can make that stuff good, it's a good episode. So, yeah. Fantastic mid-season finale. I still remember when this aired. It was crazy. I loved it. And I still love it to this day. Season 1, episode 10, titled Revenge of the Rogues. This one's a lot of fun. Captain Cold is back. We got Heatwave. I think this is probably the weakest of the, 4 Captain Cold episodes. I just think there's not a lot of opportunity for him to shine. And I think Mick's a fun character, but here he hasn't really found his own yet. He's just the hothead, and that's really all he's there for. But yeah, overall, it's a fine episode. I do really like the city, Central City, actually seeing the Flash. Everyone knows that he exists now. So that's cool, but other than that, it's fine. Where do I rank it? I think it's a C tier, probably. Yeah, underneath Plastique, right there. Next is the most underrated, episode of the entire season. This is season 1, episode 11, The Sound and the Fury. I'm going to put this straight in the A tier. I don't know what I love about this episode, and I don't know why more people don't appreciate this episode as much as I do. I think it's fantastic. First off, again, like Power Outage, I think there's a lot of good tension with Hartley, especially when he escapes Star Labs, or specifically when he escapes the pipeline and he's walking around Star Labs and he attacks Cisco and Caitlin. There's really good tension there. There's some good scenes with Wells as Reverse Flash when his house gets attacked by Hartley at the beginning. And overall, I just think Hartley is such a good narrative device in kind of, strengthening the bond between Team Flash members, because Hartley, like Cisco said, he's a dick, and he makes Cisco doubt his worth to Dr. Wells, and the scenes with Dr. Wells and Cisco, it's all just really well done. I really liked it. So, yeah. And the action is just really good in this episode as well, whether it's the first interaction with Hartley and Barry at Hathaway Industries, or whether it's on the dam. Everything's just so good in this episode. Next is Season 1, Episode 12, titled Crazy for You. This is a fun episode, not great. Peekaboo is a boring villain. What's her name? Shauna Baez. I don't like her at all. Really, her personality's kind of annoying. Whether that's the actress or just the writing, I don't know. Other than that, though, it's a fun episode. I mean, the karaoke stuff with Barry and Caitlin is the highlight. It's actually really, really fun. But other than that, yeah, it's either really low C tier or high D. I'm gonna go D. I think it's D. Yeah. Again, like I said before, D isn't bad. So, yeah, it's a fine episode. One of the weaker episodes of the season, but has some really fun moments. Season 1, Episode 17. This is, of course, Tricksters. I'm out of order. I'm looking at my ranking right now. My initial ranking, excuse me. Next we have, of course, Season 1, Episode 13, The Nuclear Man. Sorry about that. The Nuclear Man, really, really good episode. Really fun. Just overall the intrigue of learning what happened to Ronnie and Dr. Stein and seeing their, seeing Firestorm, seeing how they operate, and the episode ends with, of course, the big nuclear explosion. Really fun episode. Probably the weaker episode of the two Firestorm duology, I guess you could call it, episodes. But yeah, I'm gonna put this below. Pilot. I just think it's a really good episode. And then, of course, we have part 2 of this Firestorm arc, duology, whatever you want to call it, Fallout. Again, this two-parter is just so good, but this episode specifically, so fun, because now they're split up, and now we get the dynamic with Ronnie and Dr. Stein. We got Eiling in this episode, and everything's so good. And specifically the connection between Ronnie and Dr. Stein is so well done. The way they do that to build tension is great. When Wells drugs Stein and he's knocked unconscious, and then Ronnie feels it, he gets dizzy for a second, and then when Stein is taken, and Ronnie uses the glass to cut a message into his arm, and it shows up on Stein's arm saying, "Where are you?" So good. Yeah. Above Pilot, does it get into the A tier, though? I'm thinking, no, I think it's a B tier still. Next we have Season 1, Episode 15, best episode of the season, in my opinion, best episode of the series, unless that changes in this rewatch, which I don't think it will. Oh, excuse me. Perfect episode, I think. A little bit of relationship drama with Barry, Linda, Iris, Eddie at the beginning. The kind of love rhombus, I guess you could call it. A little bit CW drama-esque. It's kind of cheesy, but forget that. Perfect episode. The foreshadowing at the beginning. Barry's running. He looks over to his, what is it? I'm trying to picture the scene. He looks over to his right, and he sees another flash, like this kind of shimmery mirage sort of looking thing. What the heck is going on? And then, of course, at the end of the episode, he time travels and he becomes that other Flash. And oh my god, mind blown. Still just goosebumps every time. And so many revelations. We learn all about Wells and what he's doing in this time. He's really Eobard Thawne, and he kills Cisco in such an emotional scene with both actors just at their best. We have Barry and Iris confessing her love to Barry. Barry shows her that he's the Flash. All of the tension that's built throughout the episode with Martin hunting Joe, everything. This episode it's a roller coaster that just never stops going up, and it never plummets until the last minute of the episode. And the fact that this episode doesn't even exist at the end of it, it's all erased because Barry time travels back to the beginning of the episode. It just makes it even cooler, in my opinion. So yeah, S tier, without a doubt. Fantastic. Next, we have Season 1, Episode 16. This is Revenge of the Rogues. Really, really good episode. We, of course, have Snart once again. We also have the return of Mick and the introduction of Lisa Snart. This is Snart's sister. Golden Glider. Now, her whole golden shtick is kind of lame, but this episode's so good. It's so good for Cisco specifically. His relationship with his brother and him revealing to Snart that Barry is the Flash. Everything is just so good in this episode. It's so much better than I remembered. So yeah, Revenge of the Rogues. I'm going to put it in the B tier above Flash versus Arrow. Just such a good episode with everything going on with Snart and Cisco. And after Out of Time, everything going on with the time travel, Barry's like reliving the past day. It's so good. It's so much better than I remembered. Yeah, I love it. So, episode 16, Revenge of the Rogues, in the B tier. Now we have season 1, episode 17, Tricksters. Fantastic episode. So good. Of course, Mark Hamill as James Jesse, the Trickster. He's just such perfect casting. And the writing, the acting, the dialogue, everything's on point. Such a brilliant villain. It's a shame that we haven't seen more of him. I really hope they bring him back for season 9. I've heard that they're bringing back a lot of old villains, and I feel like Mark Hamill's the kind of guy that would be down to return. I really hope so, because he's great in the role, especially here. And then, of course, we have, what's his name, Axel. I don't remember his last name, but his first name's Axel, being the other Trickster. He's fine. This is definitely his best episode. I think he does get a little bit too campy in other episodes, but yeah. And then, of course, we have everything with the Reverse Flash. We get the full scene of that night, the night Barry's mom was murdered. And then we get a bunch of flashbacks with the real Eobard Thawne stalking Wells. We learn how he swapped the bodies, and it's so good. So good. I'm going to put this in the A tier above Sound and the Fury. It's not quite S tier, but it's such a good episode nonetheless. Season 1, episode 18, All-Star Team-Up. This is, in my opinion, the weakest of the season. The only one to go in the F tier, which, again, right now, doesn't mean it's bad. Just very, very mediocre. Two major things that are wrong with this episode. First, this has the most relationship drama the whole season, in my opinion, or at least the most annoying. Specifically, that big dinner scene with Eddie, Iris, Barry, Felicity, Ray. They're all out for dinner, and Iris and Eddie are arguing. I don't like it. Felicity is annoying in this episode. Ray is actually annoying sometimes in this episode. And then we also have Bug-Eyed Bandit as the villain. She's just not good. Just a dumb villain. Very, very stupid. Too campy. The bee puns, not a fan. And also there's this weird side plot of Barry not trusting Cisco and Caitlin because he doesn't know if they're involved with what Wells is doing as the Reverse Flash. Just a weak episode compared to the rest of the season. Not a huge fan of this one. Season 1, episode 19. Now, this is one I'm a huge fan of. Who is Harrison Wells? Everyman, let's just start with him. Great villain. Great storyline with him. Just switching between people. They do some really awesome stuff with him. He frames Eddie. He goes as Barry and kisses Caitlin. There's some actually a little bit of spiciness going there. I'm not a Snowberry stan, fan, shipper, whatever you want to call him. I'm not a Snowberry shipper, but even I liked that scene. That was done really well. But yeah, just a really, really good episode. The mystery of the real Harrison Wells. We got Joe and Cisco going to Starling City with Lance and Laurel showing up. Detective Lance and Laurel Lance showing up. Just fantastic episode. A tier, not as good as Tricksters, just because no Mark Hamill, but it's better than episode 11. Next we have season 1, episode 20, The Trap. No villain of the week this time around, but nonetheless, this is a good one. Team Flash is on to Wells now. I forgot to mention in the last episode ended with that shocking cliffhanger of Team Flash finding the time vault, and it's picked up in this episode with them discovering Gideon. Such a good scene. Past that, they set up the trap for Wells because Cisco's been getting these dreams. Something I forgot to mention in episode 18. Again, I didn't like that episode much, but something I did like about it was Cisco starting to get his dreams. That was really cool. But yeah, that all comes to a front in this episode. They're using Cisco's dreams to figure out what the heck happened in that timeline that Barry erased, and they use that to conjure up a trap for Wells using the machine that they trapped the Reverse Flash in, trapped in quotations, in episode 9. It's so good. And the everyman twist at the end where Joe shoots Wells and it turns out to be everyman. Genius use of the character. I'm gonna put this in the S tier. Another S tier episode. So good. Next is episode 21, Grodd Lives. I mean, come on, it's Grodd. What can I say? Honestly, I don't know what else to say. It's Grodd. I guess just everything going through the sewers with Joe, Barry, Cisco, all that was great. Eiling was great in this episode. And then, of course, Flash versus Grodd. Just great stuff. The CGI is so good. I mean, it's a huge freaking gorilla, and it looks great. There's a lot of sketchy CGI in the Flash. Not here. Grodd looks great. But yeah, overall, good episode. A tier, not quite S tier. Is it better than Sound of the Fury? I'm going to put it below. I know a lot of people wouldn't, but I think Hartley's just a much more personal villain, and they did a lot more with him in that episode than they did with Grodd. But again, Grodd is fantastic, especially in this episode. Next is episode 22, titled Rogue Air. Wells turns on the particle accelerator. They have to get those metahumans out of there, so they start shipping them across the city. It fails, and there's a big action scene with all the rogues and Flash, and Snart betrays Flash. Snart, this is peak Snart here. Not as a villain, but as a as a villain and a character, I should say. Great Snart here. And even better, Mick's not in this episode. I love Mick, but I feel like he takes away from Snart. This is peak Snart. So yeah. And then at the end of the episode, we of course have the big showdown between Flash, Arrow, Firestorm versus the Reverse Flash. Great action scene. They capture him, leading into the finale. It's just so good. I'm going to put it in the A tier again, above Sound of the Fury, below the other two. I feel like the other two have more reveals. This one's just got great action, but yeah. Then we have the finale, of course, Season 1, Episode 23, Fast Enough. This one's just so good. I love how this episode is slow-paced. There's barely any action until the end. It's all about Barry's decision. Should I go back and save my mother, or should I just stay here and be content with the life that I have? It's great. His conversations with Joe, Iris, Stein, his father, it's so good. And then you get to the end, and you have him going back and going to save his mother, which is just such an emotional scene, and it's done so well. The acting's so great. And then we have the showdown between him and Reverse Flash, and then Eddie kills himself. Oh my god. Just out of nowhere. Blindsided. Still get goosebumps every time. And then Reverse Flash is gone. The wormhole opens up. The singularity. That's the cliffhanger. So good. Such a brilliant way to end the season. Fast Enough. S tier. Not quite as good as Out of Time. I think Out of Time just is so it's perfectly structured, and the foreshadowing and the stuff at the beginning of the episode, it comes back at the end. It all makes sense. It's a big loop, and it has this special effect of being erased, but Fast Enough is just a masterpiece as well. So that is my ranking of the Flash Season 1 episodes from the worst to the best. Let's go from the bottom to the top. We have Episode 18, All-Star Team Up, in the F tier. Again, not too bad. Episode 2, Fastest Man Alive. Episode 6, The Flash is Born. Episode 3, Things You Can't Outrun. Episode 12, Crazy for You, all in the D tier. Episode 10, Revenge of the Rogues. Episode 5, Plastique. Episode 7, Power Outage. Episode 4, Going Rogue, all in the C tier. And then in the B tier, we have Episode 8, Flash vs. Arrow. Episode 16, Rogue Time. Episode 13, The Nuclear Man. Episode 1, Pilot. Episode 14, Fallout. And then in the A tier, we have Episode 21, Grodd Lives. Episode 11, The Sound and the Fury. Episode 22, Rogue Air. Episode 19, Who is Harrison Wells? Episode 17, Tricksters. And then up in the S tier, the best of the best, probably of the entire series, to be honest. Episode 20, The Trap. Episode 9, The Man in the Yellow Suit. Episode 23, the finale, Fast Enough. And episode 15, Out of Time. Hope you guys enjoyed my ranking of the Flash Season 1 episodes from the worst to the best. Stay tuned for my Season 2 ranking and onward until we get to Season 9. I'm planning on reviewing Season 9 week to week as it comes out, just in the spirit of concluding what has been probably my favorite show of all time, at least the early seasons. Of course, I've lost my love for this show since, due to the recent seasons, but I'm looking forward to the rewatch continuing, and I'm looking forward to the final season. Hopefully, they can pull it together for a worthwhile conclusion. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for my future rankings and reviews. See ya.